Cannabis Common Sense, the show that tells the truth about marijuana and the politics behind its prohibition.
Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of Cannabis Common Sense. Our show is a production of our nonprofit organization, the Hemp and Cannabis Foundation, or THCF, and our affiliated political committee, CRRH, or the Campaign for the Restoration and Regulation of Hemp. We're proud to have Mr. Tim Pate with us here tonight. Hi, Tim.
Good evening, everyone.
He'll be playing some music, and we have some film clips we'll be running. We'll be taking your phone calls, and we'll buy a few crucial moments with our infamous Dancing Cannabis Leaves. Tim Pate, how are you doing, Tim?
I'm very good tonight. Paul, how are you?
Very well, very well.
Good. Figure I'll play a little music for you since it's one of those dark and stormy nights out there.
Yeah, we're starting to have some of those now.
Now I'll pull out my dark and stormy night music. If you want to dance to this one, you'll have to do it slow. I'll tell you an old story about out in the cold, crying in the rain. There was a man, he had a woman, of course. Then one night he just left without a fight. He's out in the cold, crying in the rain. He's out in the cold, crying in the rain. He's out in the cold. There was a woman, a lover I'm told. She just went right out that same door. She's out in the cold, crying. She's out in the cold, crying. She's out in the cold. if you want to dance to this one, you better do it slow, or you'll end up like that old story. You'll be out in the cold, crying. You'll be out in the cold, crying in the rain. You'll be out in the cold.
All right.
Thank you.
Mr. Tim Pate. Good, Tim. Must be good pumpkin carving music. He's been out carving pumpkins. Hey, if you're out there and you have a question for us tonight about ending adult marijuana prohibition, restoring industrial hemp, or helping medical marijuana patients, you can call us at 503-288-4448. That's 503-288-4448. And we have a caller who's patiently been standing by. Hello, caller. You're on the show.
Hey, I just had a comment.
Go right ahead.
Go for it.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, fuck you, pothead.
Well, you know what? On that note, I'd like to give everybody an update on Jack Hare.
Okay.
Because since this guy broke the ice already, I understand that Jack Hare spoke his first word this week.
And it was something along the lines of that. Not exactly.
It was goddamn. And
yeah.
You know, and I was really upset because I missed my bet. We all had a wager going.
I heard there was a pool of what the first words would be.
What the first word was, mine was what, and there were other people who had chosen that word as well, although I was the first one to choose it. And then there were some other, obscene words, but Jack spoke.
Little I heard he was with his daughter, Chancey. That's what Mark Hare told me just today.
Yeah, I talked to Mark just before the show.
Cry.
He said to say hello to everybody and thanks for the prayers, little miracles every week.
That's true.
I know.
That's a big step forward.
So that guy
So
broke
he's
the
in
ice.
there, and he wants out.
Yes,
and I can understand the frustration in that.
Oh, totally.
That's got to be a real pain.
Oh, you can imagine. I can imagine that. But
he's coming back,
little
one
victories.
step at a time. And
that's true.
I'm hoping he'll be on our hip stock stage next year, like he said he would.
That would be a miracle.
That would,
I would
be a
love
true
to see
miracle.
that. I would love to.
All of us would love to see it.
And if that's all he can say, he's still up there and he can
Right.
say it. We'll let him.
I understand, we played his speech. We're not playing it tonight, but we've played it several times here, and there's been some consternation lately about the four-letter words contained therein, but, that's Jack.
That's true.
We have another caller. Hello, caller. You're on the show.
Hey, how's it going?
Very good.
Very well,
So,
thanks.
I sent in my paperwork to you guys last week.
Now, you mean the paperwork. You mean the paperwork for a medical marijuana permit? Or
Yeah,
your medical records?
My medical records.
Ah, okay.
And my condition is asthma, and I was looking up on the medical marijuana website through Department of Human Services that your qualifying conditions.
Yes.
And I didn't see asthma on there. So
Asthma in and of itself is a spastic condition. As I'm sure you know, when you have an asthma attack, you're consumed by these huge spasms where you have trouble breathing. And muscle spasms, severe muscle spasms, are included on the list, and therefore asthma is included under the list as a spastic condition. There are a number of conditions that are included under conditions that cause severe muscle spasms. Of course, multiple sclerosis and other neurodegenerative diseases, asthma, conditions like Tourette's. Those are, once again, uncontrollable spasms. And so anything that causes uncontrollable and severe spasms qualifies for medical marijuana, and asthma falls in that category. In fact, I collect old antique medical marijuana containers, and we have several of those from the 1800s, the 19th century, specifically for asthma. And so it's been used for asthma for, since before recorded history, probably.
Well, I know it works. I mean, when you're tight-chested
Yes.
and you have a rescue inhaler or a pipe, they both work equally exactly the same.
Yeah.
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 So,
Well, we probably have, at least 500 patients with asthma across the country who have qualified for medical marijuana, and if your records show that, then we'll probably be calling you back for an appointment pretty soon.
yeah, hopefully. I faxed it into you guys about a week and a half ago, so I'm just, hopefully.
Generally,
get in
they're
there
a little
soon.
faster, but you just never know. Sometimes it takes a while. We're getting a lot of records in.
Oh, I
And,
imagine.
we've experienced
what you guys
some
are doing is
phenomenal
absolutely
growth.
great. So
Thank you.
keep it up, and hopefully we get everything pushed through to where, we can have dispensaries throughout the state and, 100% legalization. That would be great.
Yeah, that's what we're working for. We have this OCTA petition out there that isn't ready for circulation yet, but will be hopefully by the first of the year. And that would end adult marijuana prohibition, allow individuals to grow their own without a license, so we wouldn't even need a medical permit to grow our own anymore. And it would allow the sales through cannabis-only stores and allow coffee shops or smoking centers to get licenses for that sort of thing as well.
Oh, that'd be great.
That's what we're working for. We want to end adult marijuana prohibition. You can find out more about that at OCTA2010.org. That's octa2010.org.
I got one more quick question for you, if that's okay.
Sure.
Is it true that the only reason that marijuana is illegal is because of the timber industry?
It isn't just the timber industry, even though a lot of people think that the timber industry had a lot to do with it, specifically since a lot of the propaganda originated from Hearst's own newspapers. The Oregonian here in Portland was once owned by the Hearst newspaper empire. Now it's the Newhouse newspaper empire. But the Hearst empire was what brought about the term yellow journalism, and for their untruthful journalistic campaigns, and one of them had to do with marijuana, and it also had to do with the petrochemical industry and the fact that with the end of alcohol prohibition, the agents who had worked for the Prohibition Agency needed a new job, so they formed the new Federal Bureau of Narcotics, and in 1973, the name of that, or 72, the name of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics was changed to the Drug Enforcement Administration, and it was expanded a bit. So that's the history. It was kind of a confluence of interests from the petrochemical industry, which includes the wood pulp paper industry, along with the energy industry, and government workers looking for new jobs.
Okay.
That's our belief, and that's one that Jack Hare postulates in his book, The Emperor Wears No Clothes, A History of Industrial Hemp.
Well, it can be used for so many things. It's just ridiculous. It's inevitable. It will happen one day. So
we know we have truth and justice on our side, so it certainly is inspiring to work for something that I truly believe that once marijuana is regulated, hemp will return to a major force in our economy and have a major transformative effect on our economy away from the petrochemical industry and the non-sustainable, highly toxic pollutants that the petrochemical industry has given us to more decentralized, natural-based local economies. And so that's one of the things I'm happy to try to work for.
yeah, it'll absolutely be great for the economy. I think I heard somewhere that in a conservative outlook that it would generate $14 billion a year if it was taxable.
Oh, yeah. That's
Yeah.
conservative.
Yeah.
I mean,
And then a
that's
big
crazy.
savings in criminal justice costs as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, thank you guys for answering my questions, and hopefully I'll be hearing from you soon.
All right. Well, thanks for calling. And
All right, take
hang
care.
in there. Good luck with your medical marijuana application.
You'll get it.
If you're out there and you have a question for us tonight, feel free to call at 503-288-4448. That's 503-288-4448. If you, like this gentleman, would like to get a medical marijuana permit, you're not sure exactly how, we have doctors all across the United States who'll be happy to help you. Just call us. Outside of the Portland area, you can call us at 1-800-723-0188. That's 1-800-723-0188. If you're in Portland, you don't have to call toll-free because it's a toll-free call anyway. You can call us at 503-235-4606. That's 503-235-4606. The largest single category of patients who qualify for medical marijuana are chronic pain patients. Those are patients with degenerative disc disease in their back or any one of numerous pain conditions. There's a whole list of severe nausea, AIDS and glaucoma, IBS and other gastrointestinal ailments like GERD and Crohn's disease, spastic conditions like asthma and cancer and hepatitis C, and seizure disorders like epilepsy. All of those qualify for medical marijuana, and we are be happy to help you. Just call us toll free again. That's 1-800-723-0188. There's that number on your screen. And we have another caller. Hello, caller. You're on our show. Hi, caller.
Hello.
Hello.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
It's my understanding that the grower is able to recoup cost of the medication. Is that just between him, the grower, and the patient only, or is it between the grower and any other card holder that has a card?
It could be between anyone that the grower can supply in terms of the law. I think that you're talking about the Oregon law because there's differences state to state. And the Oregon law explicitly says that growers can be compensated for their expenses such as supplies, electricity, rent, but they cannot be compensated for their time under Oregon's law. And so if other people want to contribute, then they can do that through donations to cover expenses, but not for time.
Okay, and I guess what I was thinking next was, if that's the case, wouldn't we just be able to go to these cardholder meetings and pay other growers costs and get our medication from them?
Well, you know, I always tell people to work it out on an individual basis. Because Oregon's law is unique in that it says that no sales are allowed outside of these donations to cover costs. It's a kind of a fine line to toe there, and so, or hoe, or however you want to say it. It's an issue that can be fraught with trouble, and we certainly don't want to get law enforcement involved in trying to define that line. So if there's an open public place where they were exchanging cannabis for money on a, you know, like pay this much for that and so on, then that could run afoul of the provision of Oregon's law that says no sales are allowed. You know, since our law says that, it's hard to comply with the law and try to comply with it, except for one portion. You've got to comply with the whole law. So our other alternative is to change the law altogether. And we've done that. You know, in fact, initially the law said that we could only, we couldn't compensate the growers in any way. And it was later defined by the legislature in, I think it was 2005 in Senate Bill 1085 that they allowed growers to be compensated for their expenses.
Okay, that answers my question. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Good night.
So it's pretty dangerous for anywhere or a place to set up and say, I need X amount of money for X amount of cannabis, because if you're going to comply with the law,
Like you say, you're tripping down a fine line there.
Exactly. And it's not one that we want to get law enforcement in to try to decide what the boundaries are.
No, and I really appreciate how Oregon Normal has handled the meetings over the last years.
Yeah.
It's been helpful to a lot of patients. It's certainly generated a philosophy of give and take and sharing within the community, and I think that's been very beneficial to a lot of very sick people.
I think so as well. And so we've supported that in our organizations at THCF. And if you're out there and you're a patient, then Oregon Normal has these meetings twice a month for patients at 700 Northeast Deacon Street. There's the information on that. That's 700 Northeast Deacon Street at the Village Ballroom.
It's always
on
the second and fourth.
Second and fourth Saturday.
Yep.
exactly. The
Yeah.
second and fourth Saturday, and you have to have your medical marijuana permit from the state of Oregon only, a picture ID that matches, with your medical marijuana ID, since it doesn't have a picture, and then you have to be a member of Oregon NORML, and that's a once-a-year fee of $35, I believe, to join
Yes,
Oregon
I believe
NORML.
so too.
And then they can attend those meetings. They have 20 to 22 of them every year. I know a couple times they miss them for like the Hempstock Festival or the Oregon Medical Cannabis Awards, which is coming up on December 12th. Isn't that right?
I
December
believe it's
12th?
right around there.
So the Oregon Medical Cannabis Awards are where a number of patients get samples of 28 different kinds of cannabis, and then they grade them in a little grading book on a scale of 1 to 10 based on the appearance and potency and medicinal effect and
As I understand
smell
it,
and taste.
all those the judge positions are taken.
Yeah,
So
all
there
the
are
judge
none left.
positions are taken. However, there's still room out there for more people to enter their cannabis. So if you are out there and you think you have a mighty fine cannabis, I urge you to join, to put up a little bit of your cannabis. I think it's an ounce to
Put up or set up, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And last year I put 4 kinds in, and miraculously
Yes.
won the top 4 places. So it was almost
You have a lot of help
miracle.
with your efforts.
That's
don't you?
true. That's true. It's I do very little of the actual work myself, but do kind of direct it and
It's good to
pay
share
for
awards, though.
everything.
That's okay.
That's true. It's a communal effort.
Yeah.
We have another caller. Hello, caller. You're on the show.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
We can hear.
Fine.
Oh, okay, good. I'm calling with a comment. I'm a patient, and I have a permit in Oregon and California and Washington and Canada.
Wow.
And Hawaii. So the problem with in Oregon is that by not being able to just go to a dispensary, we're discriminated against. As people can go to a drugstore and get their pharmaceuticals. That's one thing. And then also the fact that you can't pay the grower. They have to for their time. So it's like a socialist system that won't even allow them to earn money for their farm product. And then also what's happening is that growers are ripping off patients. Patients can go to the cops and say, hey, that big plant with all the bud on it is mine. So patients are ripping off growers. And also we have to remember that people are moving to Oregon because they have chronic disabilities and they have a physician-assisted suicide allowed and also medical marijuana. So the caregivers are developing post-traumatic stress from having like 20 patients die on them. So, there's just like a lot of issues. And I also think if we just did a study on how much we're spending right now keeping people incarcerated across the U.S. for having bought fluorescent lights or seeds, if we had a day-by-day cost of what that's costing us, I think we could really change our economy around if we let them out, let them grow, and, respond to a worldwide market for medical marijuana. And also
If you're ready to run for office, I'm
prohibition.
going to vote for you.
Me too. You got
let
a
me
lot of
say
things
that.
to say, and I
So,
everything you had to say.
Well, actually, I was hoping to, but one day.
All
Yeah,
right.
you brought up
Thank you for
a lot of important issues. Before you hang up, I really do agree with you. The chance for discrimination is there. The opportunities for somebody who's new in town, don't have connections, who just moved here to find medicine when they need it without a dispensary or an opportunity.
It's horrible,
It's
and
difficult.
It's very
You're
difficult.
Yeah, and we're sick people, and we shouldn't have to
You're
do
right.
that.
You're
The only
absolutely
real
right.
benefit is that patients aren't forced to buy $400 or $500 ounces, which
Yes.
they can't afford.
That's
you know,
true,
I heard about this one lady in California. She needed 2 ounces a month, and she was spending $1,200 a month to get that, which took 90% of her income, and therefore that wasn't sustainable. So the dispensary model, as it stands in some areas, clearly discriminates against disabled people and poor people. So that's where I, from the beginning, have been for what you just said, ending marijuana prohibition, letting people out of jail, and allowing people to grow their own. And even though some would say that I benefit in some ways from, helping clinics and helping doctors, I'm 100% in favor of ending that business and regulating the market where the sales of marijuana is allowed to anyone over the age of 21. And we have a proposal out there to do that, and we're working to put it on the ballot for a vote next year. And so if you want to find out more about that, you can go to our website. We have a portal to all our different websites. That's hemp.org, HEMP.org, just like it says there on the screen. Our political committee, you can go to at CRRH.org. That's the Campaign for the Restoration and Regulation of Hemp. And to find out more about the proposal to end adult marijuana prohibition, you can go to OCTA, or the Oregon Cannabis Tax or Tolerance Act 2010. That's OCTA2010.org. But once again, there's a portal to all our different sites at hemp.org, and you can click on the efforts to end adult marijuana prohibition and see all the things that our organization's been trying to do, including this TV show.
Thank you so much for doing this TV show. You guys are doing a great job, and this fellow's a great musician as well.
Yeah, he is, isn't he? He's a good pumpkin carver, too.
You guys are hot. Can I say one more quick comment?
Yeah.
Also, I don't think we should use public funds for the ad council to make propaganda and advertisement against people with people who smoke marijuana.
I agree.
We can't use public funds to do that. And also, we're causing a numbers of to discriminate against family members, and so that's also against other laws. You know, that we can't use public funds to harm people.
I agree wholeheartedly. We're working real hard to implement a lot of the ideas that you voiced here this evening. I hope you'll join in our efforts to do so, or, run for office. Like I said, I'd be willing to vote for you.
I would, too.
Oh, well, it's such a pleasure. Thanks so much.
You betcha.
Thank you.
She mentioned at one point, too, that, if you're a caregiver in this business for any length of time, you're going to have patients who are very, very ill.
I've had a number of my patients pass away. A lot of my friends have come and gone over the year, at least, more than half a dozen.
The nature
of the people
this,
I've taken care of have passed on.
Yeah, the nature
but I see
of
this herb increase their longevity.
Of course.
I can remember one patient who had AIDS. He came to visit me one night, and you could tell he wasn't long for this world, and he gave me our card had just come in the mail, and he came in the cold of the night. It was about 10 degrees outside, and I went out to his car to get it and got the card, and he was dead the next day.
Oh.
So the last thing he did in this world was to bring me his medical marijuana card, and so that's so you could see how important it was for him. So, and it's so important for so many disabled people out there, and it definitely adds to the quality of life and their ability to cope with various disabling conditions.
Well, it's the nature of this group that we're in, that we all have something wrong with us.
Yeah.
Every single person in the group. So it's a
we all do
shared
eventually.
Event.
So.
Yeah, we all do.
We have another
that's
caller,
the nature of it, I mean, if the rest of them out there who are very healthy and fine and don't need medical marijuana right now and don't think of it as any viable option for any part of your life, realize that someday you might be 65 and crippled.
Facing a cancer diagnosis or
one out of three people in America.
Diagnosis.
1 out of 3 people in America will have a family member or face themselves cancer. 1 out of 3. That's a big percentage.
We have another caller. Hello, caller. You're on the show.
Hi. The libertarian in me definitely wants to see drugs legalized, specifically marijuana legalized. But the libertarian in me also doesn't want to see the government controlling it or more tax money out of our wallets into the government's pocket.
Yeah.
I really wish I could support your initiative, but I can't for that reason.
Just the tax side of it?
What we've done, let me explain, we looked at the laws controlling drug prohibition, and the United States spearheaded a number of international treaties. The first one was the Single Convention Treaty on from 1961. Then there were 3 different treaties called the United Nations Treaties on Psychotropic Drugs. Each of those treaties outlines a system of controls where marijuana can be legally sold. And so to do that, the state has to take control of the crop within 4 months of harvest. So we want our proposal to be upheld in the inevitable federal court challenge it'll face after passage at the ballot. And so to do that, we basically have to comply with those international treaties, because according to the federal courts, the treaties have the same weight as the Constitution itself. And so we wrote a proposal that places the sales through state stores but it would still allow things like wineries or vapor bars or smoking bars to be set up. It also specifically says that people can grow any strain of cannabis or hemp without a permit as long as it's for personal use. You only have to get a permit if it's for sale. So though, you know, I also was a libertarian for about 12 years before I switched back to the Democratic Party. But I still believe a lot of libertarian tenets, and I understand that taxing and regulating the sale of marijuana is not a strictly libertarian proposal, but as long as people are going to jail for cannabis and families are being broken up for marijuana, I think it's a step forward, and it's one of those things that hopefully after we're able to win an election and get a law upheld at the ballot box, we can change those treaties. But I don't think it's something those treaties.
Well,
the
that
United
would be
States
the ideal
Congress has to
situation
change.
to abrogate those treaties, to change those treaties. But
Yeah.
you know, it may be a situation where it is a lesser of evils. But that's you know, that's where, you know, libertarians, being pie in the sky idealists, we find it hard to compromise in areas like that. But
Sure, I understand that.
all right, well, thanks for your good work and good luck to you.
Thank you. Thanks for your call. And we have had the support of the Libertarian Party in each of our Oregon cannabis
Whether you
tax
support it or
act
not,
campaigns.
please vote for it anyway.
Yeah. We want to see people, you know, just stop throwing people in jail for this.
Absolutely.
And we want to see it legally sold over the counter. I mean, basically, there's taxes on just about everything. And so...
Well, we don't have sales tax here in Oregon, and I like that.
Me too. I'm in favor of that. I
Yes.
voted
Every time
it
I go
down
up to
each and
Washington, I
every time.
realize I live in a state with no sales tax.
Right.
And
One
I
of
don't
the
have to
only
pump
two.
my own gas either.
Yeah,
I like
the
that
other-
too.
I think it's Vermont's the other state, or is it New Hampshire? I always get those states
Back
confused.
east. One of them back easterners.
We have a film clip we're going to run. Hope you enjoy it. We'll be back in just a second to take more calls and talk some more. So stay tuned.
Jack's transformation gained some momentum in 1973 when he satisfied a lifelong urge to write. He and a friend co-authored a little cartoon book about marijuana titled simply Grass. Much to his surprise, Grass became an underground hit, selling about 35,000 copies. Almost overnight, Jack gained a reputation as an authority on marijuana.
And now everybody thought I knew all about pot. I knew every little subtle thing. And I still didn't even know if I ran across a marijuana plant growing in a field, I wouldn't even recognize it.
And the grass, come sit with me. In the grass.
Like millions of other Americans back then, Jack knew nothing of marijuana's history and had no idea that marijuana was actually hemp, the non-intoxicating but still very much illegal variety of the ancient Cannabis sativa plant. But as sales of his little grass book raised his profile, strangers began to come up to him with intriguing bits of information.
They come up to me and say, Mr. Herr, do you know that they used to make paper from marijuana? Some other kid would come up to me and say, do you know that they used to make all their sales and clothes out of marijuana?
The idea that it had other uses, that you could make paper out of it, that you could make cloth out of it, you could make cord out of it, you could make oil, you could make medicine. Those had never occurred to Jack, and boy, did he take that idea and run with it.
Jack was amazed to discover hemp's deep connection to mankind. For over 10,000 years, hemp was undeniably our most useful plant. Our ancestors depended on hemp's exceptionally strong fiber, cellulose-rich pulp, and highly nutritious seeds. The plant was cultivated and used throughout history for food, clothing, fuel and medicine, as well as for sails, rope, shelter, and paper. In colonial America, hemp was not only legal, but essential to survival.
Washington planted hemp at Mount Vernon in the 1790s while he was president in an attempt to start a home industry so that the United States would not have to depend on Italy and on Russia and on England for their hemp fiber. This was just after the Revolution, and the United States was trying madly not to have to rely on foreign countries for any products.
Armed with this new knowledge, Jack set out to persuade the marijuana reform movement to join him aboard his new hemp bandwagon. But to his surprise, nobody got on, not even the usual suspects.
Many of us thought that Jack was perhaps too focused only on hemp. Most of us were only focused on let's stop arresting smokers, and we sort of thought the hemp issue was a secondary issue and maybe not as important, and we weren't even sure there was a constituency out there that cared about it.
The message, as well as the messenger, turned people off.
When he first talked about hemp, to me in particular, I was very resistant because I thought of it as being just an excuse to legalize marijuana.
He tended, in his enthusiasm, to overstate the case a bit, and in so doing, sometimes the rest of us were embarrassed by that. We felt like it might undermine all of our credibility.
He would go on and rant about, hemp and how it was important and how he found this and found that, and I paid little or no attention to him because he has a tendency to rant and rave about a lot of things, if you know him.
I suspect I'm probably one of those people that refused to return Jack's phone calls.
Going to a party, meet me on after school. Well, going to a place where the jive is really cool.
There was one person who did accept Jack's ideas back then. An easygoing marijuana activist named Ed Adair could see the sense to what Jack was saying. Adair, known to everyone as Captain Ed, owned two popular Los Angeles head shops.
I'd heard he sold 12 of the grass books. So I went over there and introduced myself, and he looked at me and he says, I've been selling the hell out of these books. He says, are you sure you're okay you smoke pot? Because what I walked in with was a white plastic jacket with my polyester pants.
Jack followed Captain Ed's example and traded his polyester suits for jeans and t-shirts. The two became inseparable friends, and over the years they collected hundreds of thousands of signatures for various legalization initiatives in California.
And Captain Ed and I made a pledge. It was to work every day to legalize cannabis until we were dead. It was legal, or we turned 84. And we always felt the great injustice is that if anybody was in jail for cannabis for any reasons, it would always be too big of an injustice to walk away from and not spend almost all our time trying to change.
One night in 1974, Jack experienced what he describes as nothing short of a revelation. All his newfound knowledge of the hemp plant suddenly coalesced into a single, powerful vision. Hemp could actually save the world. In a flash moment it came to him that virtually everything now made from trees and petroleum could instead be made from hemp. That not another single tree would ever have to be cut down to make paper. That clean-burning fuel would now be made from the biomass of the abundant hemp plant. This new fuel would run cars, factories, power plants, and would even provide heat for our homes. That hemp could be grown and processed into cloth and paper with only a fraction of the toxic chemicals used in processing cotton and trees. Jack pictured a world saved from pollution, acid rain, global warming, and deforestation. Well, just about everybody assumed that Jack had gone completely mad.
And my own kids thought, Dad, you've gone overboard. I mean, you're doing this marijuana legalization now for 3 years, and now you've gone overboard. Normal felt the same way. You're going to tell people that marijuana is going to save the world. No self-respecting person will come to the marijuana movement. They'll think they're getting involved with a nut like you.
All the world over so easy to see. People everywhere just wanna be free. Listen, please.
All right, there is an excerpt from The Emperor of Hemp about Jack Herer, a video that was produced just about, what was it, 1999, about 10 years ago. And it's been played in PBS. It's a great video. If you haven't seen the whole thing, I recommend you go out there and get a copy and watch it. As you can see, it's very informative.
Interesting to see Jack when he was younger, too.
Yeah.
I remember him then, but it's still, you know, we've all
It's good to look back.
changed over the years.
It's good to look back, isn't it?
Yes.
I first met him in 1982 down in Van Nuys. I met Captain Ed first, and then Jack shortly after, a few days later. We have another caller, though. Hello, caller. You're on the show.
Hello.
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 Hi, I just got my card 2 months ago, and I'm having a hard time finding a grower. I'm wondering if you guys can help me or direct me to a place that I might be able to find one.
You know, one thing that it's best to get someone you know and trust, whether it be a family member or a friend. And if you don't have somebody that meets that criteria, we often send people to these Oregon normal meetings. There are caregivers at these events as well. They can help you get your, could be your caregiver perhaps, or they can give you some plants to help you get your own garden going. Okay. And so that's one of the options out there. There are some other support groups as well. It's best to go with someone you know and trust, just like the lady who called a bit ago. It is not uncommon for caregivers to get greedy and not service their patients properly. And so you want to find someone who's ethical and who's going to meet their responsibilities to you to produce that crop and give it to you. And even then, you know, with the best intentions, sometimes things can go wrong. I found myself fighting mold this year, and I lost a good portion of my crop last year to mold. And this year I think we're going to pull through without that. But still, there are things that can go wrong in the process. And that's why farmers have always had a tough lot in life. Their crops can go south depending on the weather and insects and other things.
Yes,
so
everybody profits from agriculture except the farmer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, if I, what was I going to say? If I get a grower, that I would definitely want to be able to have access to the crop and help them with it. And I know that's going to be hard to find, but I've thought about it, and that's what I want. But I know it's going to take a little time to get settled in, kind of, probably, I guess.
A lot of things are negotiable in that regard, you know that. So if you find the right person, and they probably would like to have some help. It's not an easy job sometimes. So
then if you are wanting to try to do it yourself, there are classes and books out there. I've always been a proponent of this book called The Indoor, Outdoor, and Medical Marijuana Handbook by George Cervantes, otherwise called the Medical Marijuana Grower's Bible. So that's a good resource for learning how to do it yourself or helping someone else. But that is one of the most difficult parts of the medical marijuana permit system, is finding someone who can grow it and produce it for you at a reasonable cost and reliable delivery and free from pesticides and contaminants. So that's one of the reasons why we're working to just go beyond medical and legalize it for everyone, so everyone can be able to grow their own without a permit. You won't have to go in and get a medical permit every year. You know, I see thousands of patients in our clinics, and I often am asked, why do I have to come in every year to get a permit if my medical condition is permanent? Well, I agree. That's not something that should be that way. I mean, you can get a driver's license for a number of years, so you should be able to get a medical marijuana permit for a number of years. But we have the law that we have, and we're trying to replace it with our OCTA petition. And so I just urge you to stay tuned and help in that effort.
Does your doctor have to sign every year, or do you just get a renewal?
Yeah, the doctor has to sign every year, and if the doctor wants to keep his license, that means he has to see you physically and do a physical exam and write a treatment plan and advise you of the risks and benefits of using medical marijuana on at least an annual basis, and some doctors require they see you more often than that. The doctors that I work with only require you come in once a year.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. If you're out there and you have a question for us tonight, give us a call at 503-288-4448. That's 503-288-4448. We'll be taking your calls for about another 12, 13 minutes or so. And then we'll be getting ready for the next week's show.
That's right. What number of show is this?
508, I think.
Is it?
Yeah.
Wow.
We've done 508 of these shows since 1997. Going on, soon it'll be 13 years, over 12 years now. So there you have it.
And we're in a lot of markets, too, if I'm not mistaken.
It's getting out there in more and more places. I know we just got back into the Ashland, Medford market. We were out on for a while and off for a while, and now we're back on there. We're on in Detroit and Denver. In fact, it's the #1 show in Denver. It's on up in Seattle now and Bainbridge Island and just all over the place. Hey, we have another caller, though. Hello, caller. You're on the show.
Hi. I was wondering where it is legal to smoke medical marijuana.
In the privacy of your home. What I often tell people is it's like sex. If it's legal for you to have sex in that location, then it's legal for you to use your medical marijuana. It's not legal to use it in public. So if you're in a campground and you're inside your tent, that's fine. If you're walking around in the campground, not good. If you're in your home, curtains are drawn, that's okay. If you're standing in front of your front bay window as the kids are coming home from school, that's not okay. I think it becomes pretty clear when you equate it to, you should maintain the same level of privacy using medical marijuana as you should if engaging in sexual activity.
All right. Thank you very much. I looked everywhere and couldn't find an answer.
That's because they wouldn't put it in those terms on the state law.
Yeah, it just says private and out of public view. And so that's just basically a good way to think about it, and it seemed to make sense to me.
That picture is in my mind. I'm sorry. It's just
the campground one is one.
I know.
Anyway, but thanks. That's a good question. Yeah, under Oregon's medical marijuana law, you have to consume cannabis out of public view, and you can't use it in public places like parks and buses and near schools. But it's just a common sense thing. So the same way you don't want to expose people to secondhand tobacco smoke, you don't want to expose them to secondhand marijuana smoke. And so even though it's not nearly as dangerous as tobacco smoke, we know.
We do.
Yeah. You know, there are recent studies that just come out in the past year that show that marijuana smokers are 60 to 70% less likely to get throat cancer, lung cancer, cancer of the mouth and tongue and nose area. All of these are cancers highly associated with smoking. And it seems that marijuana is pretty clearly has a anti-cancer effect, and that's why you have 60 to 70% less cancers. They actually have shown that marijuana smokers are statistically significantly less likely to get lung cancer than people who never smoked anything at all. So that's one of the anti-cancer properties of cannabis that scientists are just beginning to explore.
This could be the magic bullet.
Could be. We have another caller. Hello, caller. You're on the show.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. Very well.
Last week there was a lot of callers and a lot of discussion about the Rick Simpson oil.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just wanted to let everybody know that on YouTube, if they look up Run from the Cure, there's a documentary about Rick Simpson and his oil, and it's in 7 or 8 10-minute parts.
Good. Right.
So it's real easy to watch, and it gives a lot of information, as well as the link to his website that gives a lot of more information on what it is and how to make it and all that stuff.
What was that site again?
Run from the Cure. It's on YouTube.
Yeah.
So it's a series of videos. If you go to Google and type in Rick Simpson, it comes up right at the top.
Oh, cool.
Yes, it does.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah, if YouTube will only allow people to post 10-minute videos unless you are grandfathered in as a producer before 2007. Unfortunately, we are grandfathered in as producers before 2007, so we're able to post videos that are up to an hour in length. And our show being just moments short of an hour, we're able to post our whole show up there in one file. But most people can only post videos 10 minutes in length, and so this documentary about Rick Simpson's anti-cancer oil is in 7 parts, 10 minutes each, roughly, but has a lot of information. If you are a loved one or suffering from cancer, you should really look into the benefits of this oil, because a lot of 4th and 5th stage cancer patients have come back and been cancer-free after using large doses
Over
of
1,500
this stuff.
different cases is what I understood.
Yeah, and
So
that's phenomenal.
that's nothing to laugh at. That's something we have to pay close attention to.
Yeah, the first study started to come out in the 70s showing marijuana's anti-cancer properties, and the U.S. government promptly suppressed those, but it's coming out more and more every day now. We have another caller, though. Hello, caller, you're on the show.
Hi, yeah. I'm scheduled to have surgery in about 4 weeks or so. They told me to quit smoking cigarettes, and I did that day through my pack away. And they said they're going to UA me for nicotine. Do I have to quit smoking my medical marijuana for that?
Well, if they aren't going to UA you for marijuana, then it's something you might talk to them about. There are other alternatives to smoking with marijuana. I had been a 30-year marijuana smoker from the time I was a teenager till my early 40s, and I found I had a bad cough after that period of time, and so I switched over about 7 years ago to a vaporizer. So vaporizers, and that cough went away just a couple weeks after starting to use the vaporizer. So I recommend vaporizers for inhalation. And inhalation's a good way to get a good dose of THC. But for the other compounds in cannabis, CBD, it's often better to eat cannabis in an oil like the Rick Simpson oil we were talking about, or a butter extract, or in an alcohol or glycerin extract, or just on its own. We have a recipe to make 00 size capsules out of cannabis, and so you could take it in any of those forms as opposed to smoking. One of the problems when you have surgery, I can speak to this from experience, is when you cough, it hurts where the incisions were. So you don't want to be coughing a lot immediately after surgery. So I would recommend looking for alternatives to smoking so you don't cough.
Well, we just bought a vaporizer last week, as a matter of fact, and I don't know if we're burning it too hot or what, but I choke worse than if I'm smoking out of, a bong or whatever.
Yeah,
and I
turn
do
it down.
eat it. I make the butter, and, I cook with it a lot.
That's probably the better way. And for pain and spasms, seizures, glaucoma, and neurodegenerative diseases, eating cannabis is going to work better than smoking, because it's the other compounds in cannabis that are the primary medicines for those conditions, where inhalation is the best way to get THC. And you do get some CBD. It's better to eat it to get a larger dose of CBD. In fact, after you vaporize it, you can still eat it for more THC and the CBDs and other cannabinoids. But if your vaporizer is making you cough, I recommend you turn it down. The Volcano vaporizer, which I prefer myself, it's too expensive though for a lot of people.
Yeah, we can't afford that.
It will allow you to set a specific temperature range. And the best temperature range is between 360 and 390 degrees. Once you get above 390 degrees, other compounds, like benzene in particular, start to vaporize, and those are irritants that can cause coughing and choking. So another thing is, if you go above 451 degrees with your vaporizer, it's going to start to burn the cannabis the same as if you were smoking it. So you just have to regulate your temperature downward, and I would recommend turning it down to so you stop coughing.
Well, we have it down to like 280 now. From where it said, manufacturers, it said 320 to 360, 380, and that was way too hot. But I mean, it's getting better, and it's slow.
It might not be in that actual temperature range. You might want to get a thermometer and test what the actual temperature range is on that.
Yeah, I should do that.
Yeah,
The
pie
armor
armor.
won't go high enough.
Like one of those cooking things to test.
Yeah, I have one because I bake a lot. I make fudge and
All right.
brownies.
So use that and test your vaporizer and see where it's at there. And at 360, I find at 365 or so is the temperature I like to keep my digital volcano on. But I understand those are pretty darn expensive units.
Yeah, I want one of those really soon.
The best thing about it is I have one volcano that's over 7 years old and it's still going strong. So they keep working for a long, long time, where the less expensive ones don't last nearly as long.
Yeah, we don't think this is going to last long at all.
Yeah.
We'll get one eventually.
Good luck.
Thank you so much. You guys have a great night.
Thank you. Thanks for calling. So I want to thank all of you for watching. Again, if you need help finding a doctor who can help you get a medical marijuana permit, call this toll-free number. It's 1-800-723-0188. That's 1-800-723-0188. We're going to go out with the fine music of Mr. Tim Pate. I want to thank you for watching. Tune in next week for show number 509 and help us restore hemp. Good night.